All right, everyone, welcome and to another edition of the Social Media Studio webinar training on how to use the platform as well as how to make the most of your social media presence. So today we are excited to talk about how to craft compelling content for your posts. Just to let you know, this, as I mentioned, it's all tied back to the Social Media Studio, which is part of your Mannatech Plus app. The premium edition of the Mannatech Plus app. So we would encourage you, if you haven't already, to go ahead and subscribe to that by going to your back office under the My Business tab. You will see that if you aren't a premium subscriber, that is where you would do so. Once you have subscribed, a link will appear in your back office under the quick links that allows you to access Social Media Studio. Without holding up the call much longer, love to turn the time over to two of our guests, Lindsay, who always presents for us. Hello, Lindsay. And then also Raquel from the Promo Republic side of things. They are the developers of the Social Media Studio platform. And so Raquel is here to help us with any of the concepts or development side of the platform that she can help us walk us through. So Lindsay, thank you, and sorry for holding the call up to share all that.
No, that's perfect. Thanks, Ben. I always love when you open it up. So welcome, everyone. I am very excited to be talking about how to create compelling copy today. I think that sometimes we spend so much time on how to craft a really great image or, what we should be posting. We don't always know what to necessarily say around those posts, and what we say and what we share is going to create that engagement. It's going to start those conversations, and they're going to hopefully lead to calls to action, right? It's not just about how many followers I have on social media. It's how many conversions am I creating? How many people am I recruiting to my team? How many new customers am I adding every single month? Am I growing my influence? It's not just about being social media popular. It's actually about creating income producing results utilizing social media. So we have amazing Ben here with us today. We have me when I am looking much cuter than I do today. And then we have Raquel, who is going to be popping in to add some tips as well as helping us at the end, and we kind of circle back to the platform. So today I want to talk about copy. So if you're not familiar with what the term copy means, it's essentially any of the written words that you add to your social media posts. So if you're on Facebook, it could be something that you type up. It could be something on Instagram that's a caption to a photo. It could be a tweet. It could be what you caption a TikTok video or an Instagram reel or a YouTube video. So it's any of that written sort of component. So when we look at copy as well, copy is different than just saying I'm writing a story or, here's an essay or here's a paragraph. Copy has the intention that we're sharing to also sell something. That doesn't necessarily mean that we need to be actively selling in every single post, but we're creating the picture. If those of you that were on last Saturday's call with me for training, we talked about how to utilize holiday posts to really boost our engagement, to reach more people, and to ultimately grow our business during the holiday season. And we talked about you need to look at the big picture, right? You need to take that bird's eye view and go, am I telling the story on my social media page? It can't just be one post at a time. Is it all building into the story? So even a post, for example, maybe you want to do something about I use this as an example actually in a little bit. What did I write down? 4 ways to improve your gut in 2022. Maybe that's something that you want to talk about. Maybe in that post, you're not necessarily selling a Mannatech product, but you're still selling the idea of health and wellness and something that you're encouraging your followers to take action on, right? It's all building into the story. So we're going to talk about some different, what copy really means, 5 tips to write this compelling copy. How do I start producing better quality captions for my social media posts? The power of storytelling, which I did talk about this last Saturday as well. So make sure you go watch that replay. And then just how to post content effectively. And where do I start? Do I start with the post first? Do I start with the graphic first? How is this system going to develop for me in my business? So let's start with a caption of the copy has just one purpose: to get the first sentence read, right? So that first line, think about it when you pick up a magazine. You're in the grocery store, you're in the checkout line, and all those magazines are there. Why do you pick up the magazine? because a headline has caught your attention. That first punch in a post, whether that is the first line of your caption, it could also be maybe some content or some copy that's on the graphic itself, right? It could be something that you use, maybe it's a quote, or maybe you have a photo of a product and you have a headline on there. But that intention is to get the first sentence read. This is going to capture my attention. Now, interestingly, just another little tip here is that sometimes it's not even the words necessarily that are going to grab someone's attention. It could be the photo, it could be an emoji, right? It could be something that you put right at the front of your caption to catch people's eyes. We talked about on Saturday, Facebook is what color? Blue and white, right? And so we talked about in the holiday season, how can you stand out? Wear more red, wear more green, put on a little Santa hat. Why? Because we want to create content that is thumb stopping, not show stopping, thumb stopping. Thumb stopping meaning when I'm scrolling, I'm going to tap my thumb down to stop on the screen because something has caught my eye. So that first goal, and I love this because the first goal starts small. It's not the whole picture. It's I need the first sentence read. And then that purpose of that first sentence is to get the second sentence read, and so on and so forth, right? We want to make sure that when we're thinking about copy, we're keeping things compelling and simple. Okay. We don't have to, one of the things that I dislike about focusing too much on the what is the word I'm trying to look for? On each platform where you can only write a certain number of words, character limits. That's what I'm trying to think of. So on Facebook, for example, the character limit for a post, I think, is like 6,000 characters, something like that. Obviously, a tweet is much shorter, about 130 characters. And Instagram, probably somewhere in the middle. You can actually write quite lengthy Instagram posts now. But a lot of people ask, Lindsay, what's the character limit? It's the same answer that I give us when we talk about Facebook Lives. Lindsay, how long should my videos be? Does anyone remember my answer? It's however as long as they need to be, without dragging the story on or without trying to rush to get it to fit all in, right? And so when we're thinking of when I'm crafting something to say, we want to keep it simple but impactful. Do not write for the sake of writing. If you write for the sake of writing, you will lose people because you are not connected to what it is you're saying. And that sentence, that phrase, that paragraph needs to serve a purpose. So let's talk about some different tips to write compelling content. Number one, we want to do our research. Okay, so first things first, we need to understand what it is that we're talking about and who we want to talk specifically to. Identify your audience. We've talked about this at length when we've talked about creating niche markets. We've talked about who's your ideal customer avatar, who is that ideal client. When I train on customer avatars, I love to even name my customer avatar, right? That way I know when I'm sitting down and I'm going, what is it that I want to post to social media? What do I want to put out that is going to help bring more attention to my business? It's not what do I want to say? It's what does my customer avatar want to hear? My customer avatar, her name is Sarah Johnson. And I ask myself all the time, is this something that Sarah is interested in? If it's a no, then it's not compelling enough for me to post, right? And so when we look at identifying your audience, first thing, use the social media studio. You can go in there, use your analytics, see what is the demographic of people that follow me, because this is going to include so much. So say, for example, you want to reach more millennials. Okay. Maybe you're like, I want to start talking specifically to the millennials and I want to get them involved in what it is I'm doing. I need to make sure that the language that I'm using, the word choices that I'm using, the punctuation, the amount of emojis that I use, reach a millennial, right? So when I'm talking to my mom, for example, in a Facebook message, that's how we normally communicate, over Facebook Messenger. And I'll send her a message, maybe something like, hey mom, do you mind if Derek and I come early on Christmas brunch? she'll send me a little thumbs up, right? To her, that means, yeah, sounds good for sure. But to a millennial, a thumbs up can often come off as passive aggressive. It can mean like, whatever, Lindsay, I don't care. Right. So there's sometimes little nuances with language. Punctuation is another really big thing, right? And how we come across in our tone. I remember I went across Canada with another company and I was training on texting language. How do we communicate digitally? And we talked about punctuation. And I said, if you end a sentence in a period and you just send like one sentence and it ends in a period, people read that as you're angry, right? Even though it's correct punctuation. If I say Arlene messages me and says, hey, Linz, do you mind if I bring a friend to the training tonight? If I say sure, period, that may sound like to somebody else, does she really not want me to bring someone? Is she irritated? Right? But if I said sure, exclamation mark, right? It tells somebody, oh, Lindsay's really excited. Punctuation oftentimes replaces nonverbal cues that we actually get to see in person, right? And so it was really interesting because I had a lot of people come up to me after and they go, oh my goodness, I always fight with my family via text. And I think I know why now, because I'm always putting these periods. So it's important that when we think about who am I talking to, right? We think about the language, we think about the punctuation, and understanding that when we are doing the written word, there is no nonverbal cues. People can't hear our tone of voice, they can't hear our expression. And we can often do that with different ways in which we write. So punctuation, like I said, you could do the 3 dots, right? If you're wanting to pause, if you want the reader to take a breath while you're reading, right? You want to like really let something hit home, right? Dot, dot, dot can help have that little trail off of, wow, I really need to think about this. Or separating it into a new paragraph. A lot of times too, I see people just do run-on paragraphs with run-on sentences. And when you're reading that, you pick up your pace as you're reading. You don't stop to take pauses, which often means that things aren't going to hit home, right? Don't be afraid to do a standalone sentence in there. So a part of that doing your research is understanding, who am I talking to? So how am I going to talk to them, right? If maybe I'm trying to reach the 55 plus, okay, and I have a lot I want to say. Well, you could go, what is the best way for me to communicate this information to them? Is it going to be 6,000 characters, a very tiny font that they have to read on their phone? Probably not. They could be sitting on their, recliner chair and they may go, I can't find my reading glasses. They want to read it, but their glasses aren't beside them. And so do you know what they do? They scroll on to the first video because watching video may be easier for them. So we need to understand, what type of content does my audience need and how is that copy going to help that? If I have a video and I'm reaching the 55 plus and I go, do you know what? I think that video is easier for them to listen to. It doesn't require them to go find their glasses. It doesn't require them to read tiny little font, but I still want that copy on the video to really pack a punch, right? So that someone is scrolling, it has that headline, like I talked about with the magazine in the checkout line. Speaking of magazines, I know I've shared this tip before, but it's honestly so good, I'm going to share it again, is when always pay attention when you are in the checkout line. And I quite often will even walk around, say I'm at like Walmart or something, or the grocery store, and I go to the magazine section. I have no intention of buying the magazine, but I will take a photo of the cover of magazines when there's headlines that really pull my attention. I remember a few years ago, so I always use this one as an example. There was a headline of the 5 foods that are making you fat. And I was like, well, I have to know what that is. And so I took a photo of the cover. That way I could take that headline and swap out any of the words, right, to make it fit for me and my business. Because magazines that have headlines on the cover, newspapers, they pay a lot of money for copywriters who know how to craft headlines that will pull you in one sentence, usually in like 5 to 10 words or less. So great copywriters don't start from scratch. Great copywriters look at what's out there. They read right? They're looking at headlines, they're going, what is captivating? And what does my audience talk about? And that comes into that research as well. We talked before about what is social monitoring and social listening. And I said, you get to tell people that are saying, oh, you're trying to work your business, but you're only scrolling on social media for an hour, right? And we go, no, I'm social monitoring and I'm social listening. I'm listening to what my customers are talking about. So then when I respond, when I create content, it's exactly what they want to hear, right? There are marketing teams who have roles dedicated to people holding focus groups, doing research, going out, going into malls, going into different areas and trying to just listen of what are people talking about and how can we insert ourselves into the conversation, right? So make sure that you keep your ears wide open, that you are using the same words in your copy as well, that you're hearing other people say. Gut health is a really big word right now. People are interested in their gut health. People are moving away from just being interested in like weight loss, but to general and genuine health, right? It's not just the appearance of am I healthy, it's am I actually healthy? We hear microbiome, we hear about gut health, we hear about gut flora, all these different keywords, right? Use those in your copy. Why? Because people that are searching for those words are more likely to find your posts. Plus, people who follow, like let's say, for example, you're talking a lot about gut flora and I'm searching up on hashtags, or I'm talking a lot about gut flora. Again, I'm more likely to see your content because we're using similar keywords. So very, very important. Make sure you also have a goal in mind. What do I want this post to do? Do I want this post to allow people to get to know me better? Because I know that's important. Because I know people do business with people they know, like, and trust. People they want to be friends with. That's having the goal for the post. Is my next goal, do you know what? I really want to sell this product that's on holiday special. I want to get at least 3 new sales through social media with customers coming in through this product. Okay, we have the goal. Or maybe do I want, some new leads for the business opportunity? Have that goal in mind. Is my goal to inspire people? Stay focused, because again, we want to be simple. You can't do everything in every single post, right? If you're talking about, I want to inspire you, I want you to get to know me, I want you to buy this product, and I want you to join my team, that's word vomit. It's often too long of a caption, and adding in too many calls to action confused people, and confused people do nothing. Keep it simple. Your goal isn't always to just capture someone in that moment. It can take up to 20 times, statistics show, 20 times for people to see your marketing and you and your business before they make a decision. Now, that decision doesn't even necessarily mean a purchasing decision. It could just be, all right, I'm going to send Arlene a message and ask her, can you tell me more about this new U90? Can you tell me more about this? So what is it that you really do, right? It can take up to 20 times. But how many of us give up on the first time, the 5th time, the 10th time? We go, this isn't working. But you have to go back to the data. You have to go, I know it takes roughly 20 times for someone to see something in order to make a decision with me. So have that goal in mind. The goal could be, I want somebody to engage with this post, so I know they're going to continue to see my other ones. And I love doing copy before design unless you're inspired. So sometimes you'll see, maybe you're in the social media studio and you don't really know what to post and you can't really think of an idea. So you're just looking around and maybe you see a product or a template that's available and it sparks your imagination and you go, oh my goodness, I know exactly what I want to write about now. That's always a really great place to start if you feel really stuck. But I love to, even if you have that inspiration of, oh, wow, I haven't thought about this product in a while. And so instead of jumping right into creating the graphics, sit down and start writing out the caption. What is it that I want to say? Take more time with that, right? Because your caption is really the meat and potatoes, right? Think about it, in the magazine, it's the article, right? The photo is just like the headline on the magazine cover. The photo is not the real content. That's the attention grabber. The copy is the content. And so if you start with that copy first, you will make sure that what you design for it is going to pull people in, right? So they have to work together. They have to work in conjunction with each other. So I prefer to do copy before design. But like I said, you can always look around on the Social Media Studio for inspiration. Those of you that love using your phone, if you have an iPhone, there's something called the Notes app. I use the Notes app all of the time, like a little diary or just somewhere where I jot down ideas. Every single time that you have a conversation with a client, every single time that you are having a team meeting, you are on a training, write down some quick little notes that you could use to post to social media, because especially when you're talking with your customers, right? Because they're saying things to you that other people want to know. Maybe Peta Ann is talking to somebody who did the new U90 challenge through her, right? And so she's on the phone, we're wrapping it up and I'm so excited for you. I just wanted to hear, like, how have these past 90 days gone for you? Maybe she shares an amazing testimonial with Peta Ann and she goes, great, can I use this on social media? Or maybe she's sharing her testimonial and Peta Ann says, Jennifer, if you could boil it down to one thing, what was that one thing you did that you think made you successful during this challenge? And she says, you know what? It was going to every single one of Ashley's calls on Mondays, because I know that kept me consistent and accountable. And I totally would have let that, like I would have let it go. So Peta Ann can go, okay, she said out of everything, the calls, the accountability, I'm going to do a post now asking my followers, hey, did you set big goals for yourself in 2021 and found that you haven't even met them yet? I want to talk about accountability. Did you create a system for yourself to be accountable throughout 2021? If not, read this post, because these are the steps you're going to want to take to hit your 2022 goals. You can say, even my customer Jennifer said she lost 40 pounds in the last 90 days. And all of it boiled down to her number one tip, which was accountability. Right? From there, we're building out the story. We understand, okay, like, how can I turn this into content? Every conversation you have is the potential to turn something into content. So always be listening. It's not about sitting down going, I need to create from scratch. Remember, I said the best copywriters don't write from scratch, right? They're always rewriting. They're listening to other people's stories. They're watching, other people talk on Facebook Live. They're reading magazine articles. They're absorbing headlines and catchy phrases, and they're making it their own. So an example here, something you could obviously use in the Social Media Studio to help you reach your audience. You can see all the demographics. That's what I love about there. You can hook up your multiple platforms. You can see exactly who it is that you should be talking to. So what I love about this example is about 68% female, 32% male. So this is actually a pretty even keel amount of, like gender, for example. So if I know that almost 32% of my followers are men, I can't always just talk to women, right? So maybe I'm going to talk to just let's see what the age group is. I just need to move my video here. Biggest age group between 35 and 44, right? That's the biggest age group. But always look too. But we have all these people in the 45 to 65, and those people actually make up more than the 35 to 44. So maybe I'm going to talk to that 50 plus most often, but I'm going to speak to them in a general way, and I'm going to sprinkle in posts that are gender specific. I know that I still have quite a bit of following in the 35 to 44. So if I want to talk to that millennial age range and even younger, then how do I need to make sure that I'm crafting my content and my copy there? So really use the analytics. That will give you information, and information and knowledge is power. So always make sure that you are checking these areas. It will really help you when you are wanting to craft those posts and see where you need to go next. Now, a second tip is important points first. So start with a headline, like I mentioned, 4 ways to improve your gut in 2022. Oftentimes that can really pack a punch, right? That can go, I really want to read this. Look at magazines. I encourage you over the next 2 days, go to the grocery store and go look at the magazines. You can buy them. You can take a photo of the cover. You can go to even just blog websites. I will go to, Oprah, for example, oprah.com, and I'll look at all her blog posts that she has, because I know she pays a lot of money to make sure that her blog posts are being read. And she has some of the world's best copywriters on her team. And I know the best copywriters don't write from scratch. So I will go there and I'll go, okay, what is a headline that Oprah is using and how can I switch up the language to be relevant to me? Right? You want to think about structurizing your information, how to structurize your information. We're going to go through a few slides on how to do that. Really, beginning with the main idea. Why is this important? Right? Because if you think about it, even on a Facebook Live or a radio station or a training, most amount of people come in at the beginning and then people slowly trickle off, right? So you want to make sure that all your most important information is always at the front and you reiterate throughout, right? You want to look for proofs if you want to talk about things like statistics and things like that. There was an example, I saw a doctor post the other day that used a statistic to pull people in, and it was a pretty alarming statistic. It was 50% of people diagnosed with PCOS, so it's polycystic ovarian syndrome, will develop 50% of people with PCOS will develop type 2 diabetes by the time they are 40. Staggering statistics. So she led with this to create an impact, right? A sort of wow factor. And then from there, she dug into her content and gave information about this. And then you want to finish with a call to action. We are going to talk about storytelling though, and sometimes you can lead with the story versus leading with a statistic, because I will also share maybe some of the downfall of just leading with a statistic. So let's look at some different structures that you can use. These are all different ways that you can craft your copy. So the inverted pyramid is one system. So you have the lead, the body, and then the tail. So the beginning is that the question maybe includes a question or a hook. It really builds up that who, what, when, where, and why. The second part is the argument, the controversy, or the story. So this is where there's that information, evidence, background. Maybe you have other things to support in there, like video, audio, etc. Then you have the tail. So any extra interesting related content for the post. We've talked about a lot on Social Media Saturdays is having the how to craft that story, right? Those three parts. We have the normal, right? This is what my life used to look like or looks like. The transformation, but then I did this and now I have the new normal, right? We want to, I love the book. I literally recommended it actually on Saturday, but Stories That Stick by Kendra Hall. If you've not read it, give it a read. It's a very, very well written book about storytelling and how to use that for your business. So here's an example here of how that was sort of used. I won't spend too much time on this because we have a little bit more to get through. But you can see, very excited to announce that I've joined the Manitech family. That is the punchline. That is getting the excitement. Now we're into that body, right? As a professional athlete, I'm always looking for ways to prepare, compete, and recover better than my opposition. Manitech's amazing cutting edge immune system health products give me that edge, right? And then this call to action detail, link in bio to get information, purchase products, and get involved, right? So we have that announcement, something fun and exciting. He's joined the team. He gives us that body, that background, that like why this is important, and that he obviously is a professional athlete. He's saying, I want to, what does he say? Give me that edge, right? I want to look for ways to better prepare, compete, and recover better than my opposition. And Manitech does that for me. So we're structuring the story and we're building people along. We go, wow, you're joined something. What is that? Wow, this sounds amazing. Great. How do I learn more? Right? It's creating that sort of story sandwich. And this is where I want to talk more about the story. But on Saturday, those of you that were there, we talked a lot about telling the story. The story is what's going to create action. An example that we did and how to, especially during the holidays, and how to create more emotion and impact is that I said, instead of always leading with the product and then saying, oh, and PS, for every $100 you spend, a month's supply of Photo Blend is donated, lead with that, right? Lead with this is how Manitech gives back. Here's how you can make an impact this holiday season. Here's the perfect gift to give to somebody, right? It's not about, oh, I bought, somebody Life and Plus for their stocking stuffer. It's no, I donated on their behalf to the M5M Foundation through the purchase of these products, right? What is the real compelling story here? What is really going to move people into action? We talked about an example. If, when you buy these sort of products for somebody or yourself, it's not just because I enjoy taking supplements. What's the story? I want to be around. I want to be here next Christmas. What is the story? So choose a storytelling formula. We're going to share a few more in a moment. We want to create conversations. A social media post, great copy should have a you and a them. It should sound like you are talking to somebody and there's room for them to respond. Ask open-ended questions. Give them actions. Give them things to do. Ask them to comment below. You want to think about in copy as well, the benefits versus the features. I see a lot of people make this mistake when they're writing out captions or they're writing out posts, is they focus more on the features of a product than the benefits. One of the posts on the Manitech page, I shared this as an example on Saturday, I'm just going to pull it up, that I loved that really did this in a unique way, is I posted plus, right? And what I wrote on it was, when you add plus to your life, you are adding much more than just a supplement. You are balancing your hormones plus investing in your health. You are helping your endocrine system plus lifting your spirits. You are adding in amino acids plus living a more joyful life. And you are supporting your wellness plus helping nourish children around the world. Right? It's about what is more than this, right? What are the benefits of this? When I take this every single day, how do I stay accountable to doing that? Because I want to be around for my kids, for my grandkids. I shared this example of my mom. She's always like not taking care of herself. She's a caretaker, very much so like Joellen, right? She takes care of my dad. She's a full-time caretaker. And she always says his health comes first. I said, Mom, don't you remember what they tell you on the airplane? You got to put your own oxygen mask on before you can put someone else's on. You can't pour from an empty bucket. She has such a hard time spending time on herself because she has been conditioned, especially as a woman, to exist for other people, to be the helper and to be the caregiver for others. And I said, you can't do that if you're not around. So investing in your self-care and your health and your wellness isn't a vanity thing. It's doing something for your family. It is showing up for your family, right? And so that's the feature. That's the benefit. That's what we talk about. It can't just be the features. This product does this and it does that. Do you know how many people will say that they want better health? That's not a good enough goal. It's not specific. Goals are what? Smart, specific. If you ask someone what their goals in 2021 or 2022, I can't believe it's 2022, and they say to lose weight, it's not a good enough goal. It's not compelling enough. They need to get more specific. A better goal may be, I want to fit into my jeans that I bought 2 years ago. That's a goal. That's something measurable. That's something that they can stay accountable to. That's something that they can put on, right? I want to feel more confident. What does that mean? What does that look like? Right? I want to get healthier. Well, what does health look like to you? And why? Oftentimes when people can attach a goal or their vision, read this in a book the other day. I'll actually have it under my computer. It's called nope, that's not it. I think it was called The Coaching Habit. I can't remember, but they talked about when you create a vision and you're trying to connect with others, people are more likely to stay true to their vision when their vision includes somebody else. I want to do this for my spouse. I want to create this sort of life for my family. So if you know, maybe you're trying to target, again, going back to that research, compelling copy. I want to reach women 55 plus. Okay. Do women 55 plus spend a considerable amount of money on themselves in your demographic? Probably not. Who do they spend money on? Their spouse, their children, their grandchildren. They are giving everything away. They will go out and buy a bunch of new things to donate to a toy drive or to their church, but they're wearing the same clothes that they've had for the last 25 years. They're using the same things. They don't invest in themselves. So if I just talk about the features of this product, is that going to compel them to buy, to take action? No. What are the benefits of this? What is the story? How do I move them towards an emotional reaction? Because we know that emotional reactions create results. It has a higher buying power. You want to express yourself briefly in your stories. It shouldn't be too much about you, but starting with the story, starting with an anecdote, starting with, something that's relevant, right? Even if you shared a bunch of statistics, for example, that I said that 50% of people, women with PCOS will develop type 2 diabetes by the time that they're 40. Well, that statistic sticks in my head. Why? Because I have PCOS and I'm in my 30s, right? And so that's scary for me. And so that resonates with me in terms of this relates to my story, right? But maybe to somebody else, that statistic is not going to stick in their head. So it's why they can sometimes not be the most powerful to start with. People will remember stories before they remember anything else, whether it's a little catchy phrase or a statistic. Because when they hear your story, they hear their own. And people remember their own stories, right? And so that's why I love starting with something like that. And again, it builds that connection. It builds that know, like, and trust. You want to make sure you stay relevant and useful. So make sure that, what you're talking about is relevant. That's why I love spending some time listening. Go on social media. What are my customers talking about? Do more follow-up calls. Focus more on follow-up, right? Because everything that is said to you in those follow-up conversations is gold. You know that you leave 50% of your income on the table when you are not following up. And then you want to include clear calls to action. So it needs to be something embedded in there that you want them to do. So let's look quickly at Dale Carnegie, his magic formula. So he says you can use this in a 2-minute conversation or a 20-minute presentation. It doesn't matter. Break it down into these 3 sections: incident, action, and benefit. So that incident is that relevant personal experience. Share the story, share, this is what happened. Or, when I was at the doctor's office the other day, I heard these words, right? That's going to allow people to be pulled into the story. They're seeing themselves in it. Think about why you read a fiction book, right? How that starts. You're getting pulled into the story. That next one is action. So these need to be specific action words. So I've just shared this little story about myself. And in these action words, I need them to, you could use words that are actual verbs. I encourage you to. I challenge you to, right? I challenge you to go click the link in my bio. I encourage you to reach out and ask for advice. Right? People need to be told what to do. Oftentimes, people may read your content and go, wow, that's amazing. And then they scroll on by because you didn't tell them that you were even available to talk to. You didn't tell them that you had products available. You didn't tell them that you had weekly trainings on this topic that they could be a part of for free. You didn't tell them that there was an income opportunity associated with this, that they could work closely with you and help other people do the same. You have to have those actions. And then state the benefits. What is the benefit of taking this action? What's going to happen if you do what I tell you to do? What's a benefit that's going to come from this? So even just take this down. This can maybe be your homework, taking this magic formula: incident, action, benefit, and write some examples under there and start to craft some different posts. There's the 3-act structure. You could do the setup. So very similar, set the scene, introduce the characters, right? Maybe it's you, maybe it's a doctor, maybe it's your, we'll use that Peta Ann one, for example. Maybe the setup is, yesterday I spoke to one of my top customers who lost 40 pounds in the last 90 days. People see that and they go, wow, 40 pounds in 90 days. I'm interested. Jennifer is a busy mom of 2 adult children and 3 grandchildren. You're talking about her, how busy she is. She volunteers, twice a week. She still works part-time. She's a caretaker to her husband. And she was running low on energy. She felt herself not being able to run around with her grandkids anymore. She felt herself, canceling or skipping volunteer meetings at her church. She stopped cooking for herself and her husband and started ordering out more often. She felt herself zoning out on the couch, playing Candy Crush, and she knew she wanted more than this for herself and her family. Right? That's setting the scene. People are going, wow, this sounds a lot like me, or this sounds a lot like my mom or somebody I know. We go into the confrontation, present that problem and build up the tension. That's a part of that too. She knew something needed to change. Why? Because all these things were happening. And then what's the resolution? Resolve the problem. Jennifer decided to just take 90 days to gift to herself. I told her she only needed to commit to 90, and anything after that was up to her. And in the last 90 days, here's what she accomplished. And then you can share a testimonial on how she feels now. Maybe she's like head of the volunteer or fundraising committee at her church. Maybe now she's picking her kids up from school. She's, doing she has all this extra energy. She feels better about herself. Again, it's that normal transformation, new normal. We have the problem, agitate, solve. So present the problem, agitate the core of the problem. So get very specific there, right? And then solve it. Problem is, I'm exhausted and I have no energy. Okay, let's dig that down. I'm nutritionally deficient. I'm not taking care of myself. I have no health and wellness plan. It's not even a consideration. How do we solve that? Accountability, becoming a customer, getting involved in the training every single week, going to Ashley's call, right? It doesn't always have to be the product, but it can be, here's how you work with me. You also want to make it scannable. So by this, what we mean is it needs to be fast and easy to read, right? This is why when I love crafting copy, I love using bullet points. Imagine I wrote this all out in paragraphs, right? You wouldn't read it. You would probably look at the screen and go, that's a lot, but you can quickly read on here these bullet points. I love using bullet points in my copy on Facebook or on Instagram, right? People need to be able to scan quickly. Majority of the time, people on social media are not there to go, I'm going to go learn something new today. They're there because they're in downtime, they're in their leisure time, they're waiting at the doctors. You don't have their undivided attention. They're not alert. They're usually very tired, feeling overworked, and they just need a little moment of downtime. So make things really impactful, simple, use bullet points. You can use emojis to capture their attention. Just don't overuse them. Never use emojis to replace words, but you can use them at the beginning of sentences or at the end of a sentence to replace that nonverbal cue, maybe your facial reaction or response. The formatting, like the bullet points, use paragraphs so there's breathing room, right? And minimize adjectives and adverbs. So the fluffy words, just be super simple. I remember I took in university, I have a degree in communications and a minor in professional writing. And I remember one of my very first professors in professional writing, I got my first paper back and he crossed out every other word. And he was like, enough of these filler words. And it was interesting. We talked about too, how women use a lot of filler words because we've been told not to be direct. We say things like, well, I just wanted to, to share. No, it's just, here's what I'm sharing. We add in the word like just or like a lot because it's a nervousness, it's an insecurity, and it says, I'm not confident in what I'm saying. I think, maybe if you ever thought about, no, just be nice and direct. You are the expert. Here are some examples here, just like quickly how you can scan, you can see the information. That's always really important too when you're creating posts in Social Media Studio. When you think about what is the copy that I want to have on this, is it going to be easy for someone to read? You know, example, how's your health today? Scan your body and do a check-in. Boom, 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 boom. It's easy to just zip down, right? It's 1 to 3 words tops, easy for someone to scan. I could have written this out in a lengthy paragraph, but is that going to capture attention? No. And then number 5, exploit the psychology. Share emotions, create urgency, offer exclusivity, and create that fear of missing out, that FOMO, right? Creating that sort of sense of urgency to a post. You know, maybe it's something with the holiday special. Of course, there's going to be urgency. There's only a certain number of days that they can, you know, access it. Or right now we're in a sense of urgency. Maybe right now you really want to start talking to your clients about what is your wellness and health goals for 2022, right? So they need to make sure that as of January 1, they have all the products that they need. They can't just start thinking about this for January 1 and then wait to get their products and then get going. And now it's almost already February. And by February, people have already fallen off of their goals. Get them thinking and prepared now, right? You don't just like start a new diet one day. You plan, okay, I'm going to do New U90. I need to go to the grocery store. Ashley does what? A prep week. So these are your prep weeks for 2022, right? So that's creating that sense of urgency. And then, like I said, that emotions and the storytelling. When I share that story about my mom, it resonates with people because they can see themselves in it and it evokes emotion and memory. And people are much more likely to become attached to copy and to things that we say and what we share when there's that story element. Even when I'm training on stage, though I haven't done that since before COVID, but that was my main gig as I traveled and I just spoke at conferences. And even in a training about Facebook, I had to make sure that there were stories clucked throughout my presentation, that it wasn't just information. Why? Because I needed to entertain and I needed to engage and I needed to evoke emotion from my audience. It wasn't just about the information I was giving to them. It was about the experience that they were having with me. And that's the exact same thing on social media. You may think, oh, but only 2 people saw my post, Lindsay, so it's not that big of a deal. But it's like, you have to put it into context. If 2 people just showed up to Mary Jo's house right now and knocked on her door and said, Mary Jo, tell us something. We're interested to hear what you have to say. We trust you. We know you. We like you. We look at you as the expert. That's exciting. But on social media, we deduce it because we just think the amount of people, right? But create that emotion. I've spoken in rooms with like 10 people and I've spoken in rooms with 10,000. And the 10 people versus the 10,000, they get the exact same experience from me because I always deliver like I'm talking to a million people. And like Oprah's just going to be somehow in the same hotel as me and she's or Les Brown or whomever. They're going to say, hey, Lindsay, do you want to come on my show? That was very inspirational, right? Give it your best effort always, even if you're just starting from the beginning. So how can the social media studio help? You can get those post ideas. So like I said, if you don't know something you want to say, if you don't know where to start, then go into the studio and just poke around. Look at the templates, look at the posts, look at the products. It's going to spark something in you, right? Then you'll be able to write that copy. You're going to be able to use the graphics editor to make sure that post really speaks to what you're saying and is pulling people in. You can schedule it to go out. And then you get to report and look at the insights and the analytics to better inform your next post, right? Same thing we said, that I love that sentence, that the caption is meant to get you to read the first sentence and the first sentence is so that you read the second one. Same thing with your posts. They all work together. This post is going to make you want to see my next one. So you can always find that inspiration, like I mentioned in there. You have all these different content ideas through the library. So you can look and go, wow, like I know exactly what I want to say about this one. Or maybe you have an experience that you just went through and maybe this graphic right here just said, oh, that actually works really, really well with what it is I want to say. You can do a lot of fun different things here. You can add in the products, you can add background, you can add additional captions and copy over top. Go ahead and schedule it. You can see the big picture, like I talked about. How does this all work together? Is this telling the story? So I love scheduling posts because you can see, does this all work together versus just standing alone, right? So lots of fun stuff that you can get in there. I know I was like, oh, I want to try to do 30 minutes today, but there was still so much to talk about in there. But the best way to be able to, Sona said it today in She Society, for those of you that were there. What did she say? She said the hardest part about running is running from like a dead stop, right? It's that first few steps because you're just standing still. Once you get in the motion, riding a bike, whatever it is you want to, equate the story to. Once you've got going, you're already going. So if you're having a hard time writing, write this down. This is exactly what I want you to do. Write this all in capital words. Start writing. You have to start writing, right? You have to just start. You have to just try. Use the analytics, go, wow, that one didn't land, that one didn't work. Great, that's a win for you. Why? Because you know what your audience doesn't care about. And sometimes you still have great posts and people just aren't seeing it. And that's because you just need to do a better job at finding the people. It all works together. But just give it a go. Start writing some better copy associated with, add in that story. Look at the Dale Carnegie magic formula, right? Look at that, the story, the action, and the benefit. Am I making somebody move to a call to action? Am I evoking emotion? And is this a part of something bigger? So give it a go. Let us know if you have any questions. Ben, Raquel, did you guys want to follow up with anything?
Sure. I wanted to just invite everyone to make sure that they share this content, this webinar with your downline organizations. I think this was fantastic content. Anybody wanting to grow their presence on social media, this really is a great place to get started. Social Media Studio is a fantastic tool for helping to create it for the non-creative types, or just, even to spark ideas. So Lindsay, this has been awesome. As a reminder, you can go to Social Media-Studio, which is right here on the screen. But if you go there, that is where these recordings are being posted, so that we have the prior calls being posted there as well. But definitely invite your downline organizations to subscribe to Manatech Plus to get this premium version of the app to be able to use this content. Lindsay, great job. Anything you wanted to add, Raquel?
No, absolutely. Lindsay nailed it as always. Thank you so much for your time, Lindsay, and putting this together. And yes, we're here to answer any questions regarding Social Media Studio at this email address here, manatech@primarepublic.com. But we're here to support you. So let us know what you think.
All right. Well, that will conclude today's call. Thanks for joining us, and make sure and share it. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Raquel. And thank you, everyone, for joining.
Bye, everyone.